logbooks tell. So the story that the logbooks tell is one of maintenance, right? And the history of the aircraft and the maintenance that was done on it. And there's basically four maintenance categories or there's 4 levels of maintenance that you want to be aware of. You've got your service centers, you've got your authorized service centers, your well-known mechanics, and then Bob's Garage that you just found on Craigslist or in a Facebook forum or something like that. And let's talk about the difference, because as you're going through, you're going to see, like, okay, this thing has been service center maintained, everything's organized, everything is color-coded, it's all Textron forms, and like, wow, these logbooks are really clean. Or it's a mess of papers like flying everywhere, there's handwritten notes, there's sticky notes, and you're just like, what is going on? So with the service centers, you're looking at a replace versus a repair mentality. So the service centers are going to look at things and they're going to really try to replace items as opposed to repair them. I mean, it depends on the plane is what I'm saying. You know, if it's a legacy jet from the 70s, 80s, 90s, they're just going to, you know, just buy new parts and your plane will be better. Versus, you know, maybe someone who's more like a mechanic on the field, he might have different ways that he can go about fixing whatever the problem is that you're facing right now. So you got your service centers, that's the manufacturers basically, your Textrons, your Embraers, etc. Then you have authorized service centers. So you would have someone maybe like a Duncan or a Clay Lacy. These are third-party vendors, mechanics, that have a formal agreement and relationship with the manufacturers. So with the manufacturer service centers, you know, maybe there's only 3 or 4 of them in the country. Well, now to expand their reach, they've worked with and they've partnered with authorized service centers. So there might be one closer to you that's an authorized service center to work on Phenoms, you know, the Embraer Phenoms, or the Citations, you know, because they're a Textron service center. So they're more available. They're still going to, you know, obviously they're held to the standards of the maintenance of the manufacturers, so they're still going to be similar to a replace versus a repair mentality. It's probably going to cost you, you know, more money to get your work done there, but you get what you pay for. Not only do you get a level of work, a quality of workmanship that is, you know, to manufacturer standards, you're also getting what we talked about in the podcast earlier with Tim Wade. We talked about safety. You're also getting a system to organize and make sure that the maintenance is done well. There's checks and balances. There's people who focus on making sure the log entries are recorded correctly and they're organized specifically so that they're easy to find. So you're getting a whole team of people that are not just doing the right maintenance, but as it refers to the logbooks, they're making sure that the maintenance is recorded appropriately. And that can be, you know, really important to you, and that shows value. That shows value in the aircraft that you're going to want when you're going to buy an aircraft. You're going to want to see it's maintained, you know, as well as possible. So you got your service centers, you got your authorized service centers, then you've got your well-known mechanics. Maybe there's someone on the field, you're fortunate enough there's a well-known mechanic, he takes care of everybody's citations, there's a bunch of citations on the field, you know, we go to him. It could be a national or a regionally known guy that's just like, okay, he's, you know, I've got a couple guys in Texas, you know, he's the Embraer guy. I've got guys in Florida, they're the citation guys. So if I see someone in pockets, you know, I can point them in the right direction if they're looking for a mechanic that maybe is not a service center or an authorized service center, but he's really, really well known for working on a specific type of aircraft. So that's kind of a happy medium. And then you've got, you know, Bob's Garage, which that has a wide range as well. That has someone, you know, maybe it's someone on the field that you just kind of found and you're just kind of trusting them. He's like, yeah, I've worked on citations before and I have the maintenance manual. He should be able to do the work. It's just a matter of, you get what you pay for. You can, you know, see, just go to a shop. How clean is it? You know, how many guys does he have working? Is he really busy? Is he not really busy? Is he, you know, going to just throw duct tape on something and it's not going to be done even though your plane's going to fly? So, you know, it's kind of like that. So what I was going to say is, you know, all mechanics, this is important, all mechanics have to be trained. And every entry that is in the logbooks is going to be signed off on. And so what happens is every time you turn a wrench, every time you turn a screw, every time you do something with the aircraft, the mechanic has to write down what he or she did. And then next to it, they sign their license number. And what that does is it holds them accountable, because if something goes wrong, and the insurance is checking the logbooks, and they look at it and they say, oh, Jim, you signed next to it that you did a phase 1 through 4 inspection. Well, the landing gear collapsed on landing because of corrosion, and that should have been seen in the 1 through 4 that you did last month. What's the story? So it's very important when someone signs off on it that they're not just pencil whipping it, because if something happens, then it's going to go back to that individual and their license number. So I want you to understand that, because even if you're going to Bob's Garage, because it's budget, you know him, you like him, you trust him, there's still a standard that he has to do. There's a maintenance manual that says this is how you do this item, right? And then Bob has to say, okay, I did this item, and here's my license number to prove that I'm capable and I did it. And then if something goes wrong, it comes back to him. So there are still checks and balances even at the local level. You don't have to go to a service center just to have all the checks and balances. And depending on how you want to maintain your aircraft, that's up to you. But I wanted to give you those levels of maintenance as they relate to the logbooks, because that's the story that the logbooks are going to tell. The logbooks are going to tell us, well, where was this plane maintained, throughout its life? Let's talk about maintenance programs, because when you're looking at the logbooks, it's going to tell you if it's on a maintenance program. You've got two types of maintenance program. You've got your airframe maintenance program, and you've got your engine maintenance programs. And the airframe is going to take care of most of your inspections. If parts need to be replaced, it could potentially take care of that. And you're paying hourly, basically a couple $100 an hour for however much it flies, so that you're paying into that insurance policy. So when something has to get fixed or replaced or repaired, the maintenance program will take care of it. Now, you want to watch on all these programs, whether it's an airframe or an engine program, what does it actually cover? The engine programs usually will cover the overhaul and the hot section inspections, the big inspections on the engines. And so a couple things to watch out for would be, for the engine programs, does it cover FOD, foreign object debris, or foreign object damage? Does it cover, if a nut or a bolt gets sucked into the engine, if there's a bird strike, does it cover that kind of stuff? FOD is not always covered. It may be covered by your insurance, so you can go look at that and find out. But FOD and corrosion, is corrosion covered by your engine program? And they may have different tiers. So, for example, the Williams engines have the TAP Elite program, does not cover FOD, does not cover corrosion, but they have a TAP Blue program that will cover FOD and corrosion. So maybe as you're going through the logbooks, you notice it's on one program, and you notice that program doesn't cover what you need, so you switch it to another program. You upgrade it. Or maybe it's more than you want. So, for example, for the airframe programs, some of them cover life-limited parts. Those are parts within the airframe and within the engine that after a certain amount of hours you have to replace them. Some programs don't cover that, so you're going to pay for that. Some programs don't cover certain shops, so they might say you have to take it here. Or if you pay us a little bit more, you can take it anywhere you want. Some don't cover shipping a part, out. You got to pay for that shipping and for it to come back. So as you're going through the logbooks, you want to look at the programs that are involved. You want to make sure, it covers everything you want it to cover. You want to make sure that it's also paid up. I've been in situations where, someone was buying an aircraft and it was on a TAP Blue program and they were all ready to go, and then they find out when they call Williams, oh yeah, by the way, there's a $300,000 balance that has to be paid before this can be transferred. And it's like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know. So as you're going through the logbooks, finding out the story of the programs, is there a balance that has to be left? Maybe there is, and maybe you can defer it to the next major item. That's common, where there's a balance, but don't worry, you don't have to pay us until we do an overhaul. Okay, but that still changes the deal, right? Because you weren't expecting to pay an extra, $300,000 at the overhaul. You were expecting just to keep paying your hourly, and that would be it. So that's another thing to kind of keep in mind as you're going through the logbooks, finding out the story, and understanding programs and airframe.